Breaking news from the NFL, where the Detroit Lions have agreed to a 4-year extension worth more than $120 million with Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's according to NFL Network. The deal, which includes $77 million of that guaranteed, makes him now the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. St. Brown has emerged as one of the NFL's top weapons, making the Pro Bowl the past couple of seasons, 2 years to be specifically, and first-team All-Pro last year. I'm Amanda Guerra, along with Haley Sutton, Brady, Quinn, and our very good friend Bryant McFadeden in town for the draft, though, B-Mac. But the NFL gods decide to rain some breaking news on us, though. What do you make, B-Mac, of this deal, this extension for Amon-Ra St. Brown with the Lions, where the draft will be in just one day?
No question. Detroit already making headlines. This is huge. St. Brown is one of the more deserving wide receivers when you look at this new extension that he just received. He's a football player that happens to play the wide receiver position because he does so many things for their offense. And when you look at their structure offensively, looking at how Jared Goff has excelled as a quarterback for that organization, you look at the running back play. You know what I mean? They have outstanding, talented players that do things the right way, and they're a bunch of selfless guys just like St. Brown is. And based on what he's done throughout his professional career, being a fourth-round draft pick years ago, has really excelled to be one of the bigger productive wide receivers in the National Football League.
Amon-Ra St. Brown epitomizes what Dan Campbell's looking for in one of his players, and really what they're looking for one of their leaders of this team. He's productive, that's one thing. It's the way he plays the game, how selfless he is out there, the way he blocks out on the perimeter. It's every little thing that he does. And they're able to do this in part because Jared Goff, if he does get an extension, he's not going to reset the quarterback market. You've got Jameson Williams as well, who still is on his rookie deal. Sam Laporta still on his rookie deal, just being drafted last year. They've got a number of pieces that they've been able to essentially draft and develop, and they don't have to necessarily extend their pay yet. And if we look at the NFL, everything's healthy right now. The salary cap is going to continue to keep going up. So very much, they should be very happy for Amon-Ra St. Brown, the way he's played, the way he's developed. Very deserving of this deal, but also, again, everything around Detroit right now is allowing that deal to be possible.
Yeah, Dan Campbell, the effect there has just been magnificent when you think about the energy going on in Detroit. And only Jamar Chase has more receiving yards than Amon St. Brown going forward. So when you talk about how this is affecting the market, to your point, Brady, you got guys like CeeDee Lamb waiting on a contract extension. So when you look at this number, Brady, how will this sort of reset the wide receiver market, or will it?
I think it's going to reset in the sense of everyone's going to be shooting now for somewhere over that 30 average annual value that you see in this particular contract, and obviously trying to shoot past the $77 million guaranteed at signing. That's really the biggest metric, is you want to get as much guaranteed up front as you can as part of the deal. Yep. The average annual value is going to be something that agents like to throw around because it makes the deal seem bigger and all that, but the reality is it's all about the guarantee. And as you just mentioned, CeeDee Lamb, that situation, and Dak Prescott is going into his final year. I mean, Micah Parsons, eventually got to extend him. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys have continually, for whatever reason, continually pushed the envelope and waited to extend guys. And the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. No one knows that more than Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. So CeeDee Lamb's got to be licking his chops right now, as are a bunch of other wide receivers who are looking to reset the market.
What about Justin Jefferson?
Yeah.
Right?
You know me, B-Mac. I'm Cowboys first. I'm going to talk CeeDee Lamb first every time.
The Cowboys, they've been in cap hell the entire offseason. When you look at so many prominent players, they have to get signed at some point in time. And to Brady's point, the longer you wait, the bigger the issue becomes. Because if you were able to potentially get something done with CeeDee Lamb, now you wouldn't have to worry about St. Brown's contract as the contract that you're trying to surpass. So if you continue to wait and you allow that grown man in Minnesota to sign his new extension, you talk about being north of $30 million, no question. I mean, Justin Jefferson can pretty much name his price, and I would believe the Minnesota Vikings will try to make that a reality. So for the Dallas Cowboys, I don't understand their game plan offensively. I mean, when you talk about payment and paying guys like Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, but the longer you wait, the bigger the issue becomes, and it just became a bigger issue with St. Brown getting this nice extension from the Lions.
When it comes to Detroit, we got to mention it because the draft is there tomorrow. Today's Wednesday. Draft is tomorrow in Detroit. They have the 29th overall pick. Building on this, what other holes do they need to fill? Ryan has them taking an edge rusher in his latest mock draft. What do you think, Brady?
Everyone keeps pinpointing the edge rusher. It makes some sense. You have him opposite of Hutchinson. That could work there. You know, Pete Prisco did his who they should draft mock. He had them taking a safety. That was something that I did earlier. I got a lot of pushback from Detroit Lions fans.
Oh, then he copied your paper.
Well, it wasn't. Well, maybe a little bit of that. Different player, all right? Different player. But I think there's a number of positions you could go to on defense in particular. Edge, cornerback, potentially safety as well. Those would be the three positions that I would be looking at. You know, you would have maybe thought wide receiver, only adding to the group, along with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams. Maybe you throw a wide receiver in there too, depending on who that wide receiver is with Sam Laporta. But they're pretty darn good offensively.
Yes.
The question mark becomes B-Mac. Would they draft a quarterback if the right one happens to be there when they're drafting?
And see, that's the conundrum, I think, Brady, because remember, they took a flyer, not a flyer, but they took Hendon Hooker last year, who was coming off injury, ACL. So we don't know exactly his status when you talk about health and where he is in their development offensively. But they're in a great place because Brad Holmes has done a phenomenal job putting together a well-structured team when you talk about a selfless group that do things the right way on either side of the football. But I, for one, when you look at losing a guy like Cam Sutton, who they paid top dollar to a year ago from the Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe addressing the cornerback room for them because they were dealing with a lot of injuries. If you look at their defense, that was the Achilles heel for the defense last year. You know, untimely big-time plays they allowed to opposing offenses. So if they can shore up that end in the back end, it would ultimately help the other two levels on the defensive side. But it's all about the best player available as well. So I think an edge rusher could be there, maybe a guy like Chop Robinson. But if you get one of these elite-like cornerbacks that's still on the board right where they're selecting, you got to take a flyer on them.
And to that point, you know, so many defenses now are playing a big nickel personnel. You know, when you hear nickel, you always think about 3 cornerbacks on the field and 2 safeties. Well, big nickel, it's 3 safeties, 2 cornerbacks. There's a thought that Brian Branch would end up sliding into that position that Cam Sutton was playing. You still have Melifonwu. If you draft one of those top safeties at that spot, that's where you would install it there in the back end. And that what has now become basically everyone's base personnel. Their nickel defense, but it'd be big nickel in this case.
Since we have our star cornerback here with us on set, we're going to talk about some of the top corners in the draft. That is coming up a little bit. But again, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Detroit Lions, agreeing to a 4-year extension worth more than $120 million, 77 of that guaranteed. We mentioned he is now the highest paid at that position in the draft, wide receiver there. $77 million for him, followed up by Cooper Kupp, 75. He just posted on social media a couple minutes ago. 4 more years. Let's run it.